happened last week watching what we do. And I just kind of want to start off with that, Doug, because I know a lot of times it's hard in these situations when you start having numerous law enforcement gang up on you, when you have numerous people gang up on you, especially when you are currently armed. I had this situation happen last week at Disney Springs. I talked about it on our show briefly, but essentially I was carrying a firearm, as I always do everywhere when I leave the house. I had my family, my wife and 2 kids. We went to Disney Springs, which is an outdoor mall. It's not a theme park. You don't have to pay to get in. You basically walk around. You can look at stuff. They have restaurants, stuff there, movie theaters. And I was walking around, and basically law enforcement came up to me with a canine unit and said their dog had alerted to me. They alerted to me. And I said, okay, what's the problem? He said, are you carrying a firearm? I said, well, I prefer not to answer that question. I haven't done anything illegal. Am I being detained? And he said, well, sir, I need to know if you're carrying a firearm. Are you carrying a firearm?
Oh, this is good.
All right. Oh, yeah. No,
this is going to be good. All right.
Oh, yeah. I said, yes, I am. He immediately takes a step back, puts his dog in between myself and him. Remember, I'm with my 2 kids in a stroller with my wife right now. I'm very little threat. I have a jacket on. I know I wasn't profiling a firearm or anything like that. I had a Glock 43, much less. So it was already a small handgun. And so he immediately gets on the radio. He goes, basically, I need security and I need Orange County Sheriff's Department dispatched immediately.
Wait a second. Was this okay? Who stopped you specifically?
This was a private, I found it later. This was a private security firm that works for Disney. Okay. I'll tell you in a second. This is a story. I encountered 3 different forms of security. One of them, actually 4 different ones. I'll clarify this in a second. This is how crazy this becomes. This is why I want to bring this up. Epcot and Disney are basically the textbook examples of facial recognition software, CIA compliance, and full-blown disarmament. They have stated that nobody's allowed to carry firearms on Disney property. Even if you're an off-duty sheriff, you are not allowed to carry concealed carry firearm on their property. They'll escort you from the premises. You have to put your firearm in the vehicle or you have to leave. So back to what was going on. So now he radios. So literally within seconds, 2 plainclothes security contractors come up to me. One at my front, one at my 6, basically making sure they had me cornered. So immediately I told Lane, I said, hey, put the kids to the side right here. I don't know what's about to happen. This is escalating really quick. Now remember, I'm walking down the sidewalk. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't engage anybody. I literally was walking with my wife. She was pushing the stroller. I was playing with Hunter. We were walking. So let's believe I didn't get a confrontation. I didn't start an argument. I was literally walking freely on my way, minding my own business with my family. So now we got 2 plain security clothes contractors, one in front of me, one behind me. They say, hey, we've been notified you're carrying a firearm. I said, yeah. I said, I got a concealed carry permit with the state of Florida. I'll be happy to show it to you. I said, I'm being compliant, guys. I'm not trying to start anything with you. So I show my concealed carry permit. They said, okay, that's fine. Then a Disney security guard comes over, one with the little blue uniform with a little black hat, Disney Mickey Mouse on it. So now I have a security contractor with K9. I have 2 plainclothes security contractors, and now I have a marked security basically for Disney. And they said, we need to know what you're doing. I said, I've already answered this question 4 times now. I'm trying to travel freely, unmolested on my way with my family. Why are you detaining me? They said, well, you're not allowed to carry a firearm on Disney property. I said, okay. I said, did you guys see the firearm? They said, no, but you just told us you had one. You have a concealed carry permit. I said, so what if I would have told you I wasn't carrying a firearm? They said, hold on, hold that thought. And right around the corner, now three Orange County sheriffs with body armor are now approaching me. So I have 3 Orange County PD sheriff's officers in front of me, 2 plainclothes security contractors at my 12 and 6, 1 full-clothes security basically with a K9 unit, and another Disney officer. I have 7 security now surrounding me, asking me what I'm doing. And I answered the exact same way again. I said, I'm trying to travel freely, unmolested on my way, but I now know that is not possible at Disney. And of course, the sheriff's department's already extremely aggressive. They're posturing towards me. I could already tell they were literally waiting on me to move a certain direction so they could arrest me. And they said, sir, do we have a problem? I said, I'm trying to leave now. I said, I don't even want to speak to you anymore. I'm just trying to leave the premises. And they said, that's fine. You need to leave the property immediately. I said, I'm trying to do that. I said, I don't want to be here any more than you want me here right now. I said, this is unbelievable to me. And so they said, okay, you need to go back to your vehicle. I said, I'm trying to do that. They said, well, we're escorting you back to your vehicle. I said, you're escorting me back to my vehicle now? They said, yes. We can do it, this Orange County Sheriff's, or our security contractor can do it. I said, well, quite frankly, I'd rather have the security contractor because I've already talked to him for 2 minutes. He's retired Army veteran of 22 years and deployed twice to the sandbox. I'd rather talk to him. I would prefer not to talk to the Sheriff's Department anymore. If I do, I'm retaining my right to an attorney. I have nothing else to say to you.
I want that was the dogs to escort me back.
Said,
yeah, wow.
Okay. He's taking you back. He's escorting you. So I walked with the security guard. Now, this time, everybody disperses. We're walking back to the parking lot now. And so I'm asking the security contractor, I said, what the HE double sticks is this all about? He goes, well, Disney has a no tolerance firearm policy. He goes, we eject anywhere from 10 to 15 people a day off the premises for carrying a firearm. I said, I wasn't displaying a firearm and I wasn't profiling a firearm. The security guard walked up to me with a dog in a crowd of 50 people and said the dog alerted to me. And I said, you're a retired Army and I've been around law enforcement my entire life. I know that's a bold-faced lie.
Exactly.
And he goes, well, yeah. He goes, I said, there's no way a dog alerted to a clean Glock in a holster in my pants from 50 feet away among a crowd of 100 people. Nope. No way. It didn't happen. And he goes, well, this is off the record, bud. He goes, they basically got you on facial recognition camera when you walked in. He goes, so as soon as you popped up on, they already knew because you've had numerous incidences with law enforcement at Disney, 5. This is my 5th incident now. They basically said they immediately radioed the security out of the canine. He goes, the canine is here. He does sniff. He does look for bombs and he looks for drugs and so forth. But they also use him as an excuse to basically stop people that are carrying a firearm that are pulled on the facial recognition software so that there's not a serious confrontation so that they can put it on the dog and the dog is the one that alerted and nobody has to stop you and basically stop and frisk you, which is what else they would have to do. It's basically the New York ideology. Stop and frisk, ask you if you carry a firearm, profile you because of facial recognition. Told me all this. So we got back to the vehicle. He basically, and honestly, he apologized to me numerous times. I flat asked him, I said, why are you doing this, bud? He goes, I got out of the military, retired. I wanted to get in law enforcement. I basically got denied on some stuff. Disney pays me really good for this contracting position, so I do it now. And I said, well, Florida law basically states you can carry a firearm anywhere unless it's a federal building. He said, yes. And you also know the law that it states that private property can't ask you to leave if you're carrying a firearm. He goes, they cannot arrest you for carrying a firearm, even if they display a sign that says you're not allowed to carry a firearm, but they can't ask you to leave. If you don't leave, they can charge you with trespassing with a firearm. I said, yes, I knew that as well. I just kind of wanted to see your response to that. And so we parted ways. I left and I went home. The reason why I bring up this whole story right now is it was only because I handled that situation with great discretion and diplomacy that I did not get arrested. The sheriff's department was already ready to arrest me. One of them already had his hand back on his basically on his firearm. And you know that when officers carry a firearm in a crowded area, they have to have a 3-stage pistol, basically, or 3-stage pistol holster. Basically has to have a thumb cover over it, basically has a pull on it, and basically the other button. The Safari Land makes them and so forth. He already had the first stage pushed forward. It was already off. He was ready to draw on me immediately when he was already there. The other 2 officers did not have their hand on their weapon, but he was the oldest one there, and he basically, you could tell he was old school veteran. And so I bring that up to tell everybody. That's why I don't go to Disney. I got dragged to Disney by my wife because she insisted that I go to Disney. And so I went, even though it wasn't Disney, it was actually just a mall outside of Disney. And again, it reminded me why I do not go to Disney at all. But it also, I wanted to bring this up as a stark reminder. This is what they will do to every single person, except it will be much more aggressive than this if they start getting gun laws in place that ban you from owning firearms. I clearly am on a database already with them. They clearly already have my facial recognition software embedded in their system. We already know that there are hundreds of thousands of cameras all across the country on CC television networks that basically interact with one another with NHS or with DHS, with the Homeland Security, with those guys, with everybody. They all integrate with one another. Yep. We already know that they're trying to put forward a Real ID Act, which they already passed, which now requires basically your card, your chip that you have that basically scans you everywhere we go. We already know that now when you go to almost all airports that take international flight in and out, they now do biometric scanners when you get off the plane from an international flight, and you have to physically opt out of them to not have your face scanned. I'm saying all of that to say, What they're doing in Virginia right now with the legislation and what they're planning to do is not a joke. I do not think it's a game. I don't think it's a ploy to try to see how people are going to react. I truly believe these are the first stages rolling into 2020, which we knew from the United Nations manual 10 years ago, 2020 was going to start the implementation of firearm restrictions in the United States. I think they're getting ready for that right now. So we have to be vigilant. We have to be aware. We have to be very, very frosty in the entire situation. But we also have to use discretion and make sure if you get in one of these situations, you handle it as calmly and as coolly as possible. I made sure when I was talking to these guys, I didn't raise my voice. I wasn't talking to them like I was right now. I was very direct. I was very assertive. I kept my blood pressure down the best I could. I kept my hands in front of me because I knew they were looking for an excuse to arrest me in front of everybody. And then, of course, I would have been on the front page of the Disney Sentinel or whatever other news outlet. And they said, oh, hardcore right-wing radio show host arrested at Disney for carrying a firearm in a prohibited area. I can already see the headlines now. And of course, they would have blasted it. They would have taken snippets from my radio show about different topics like this. They would have spliced them together, and they would have said, this guy produces unbelievably aggressive rhetoric. He's hardcore pro-gun. He doesn't want to deal with this, blah, blah.